What is going on, YouTube? My name is Wendy. I appreciate you guys for tuning back into the channel here at Wendy's Philosophy. I'm hoping we can continue to grow together, learn, share ideas, and speak truthfully and honestly. When I started this whole thing, that was a big part of the mission. Of course, as you guys already know, I have the petitions going on change.org. One is change.org/we are all Haitians, and the other is change.org/Haiti Day USA. For those who have been watching a few of the other videos on the channel, I hope you kind of get a gist of what those two petitions aim to do. But if you don't, please check out those videos. I'll be talking about them here and there throughout our conversation or discussion that I'm having today. And I'm also gonna, at the summarizing video at the end, talk about them again, guys. We want to definitely get those petitions moving in the right direction. We've been seeing great movement so far. We can do better, but I want to say thank you to those who have contributed and signed the petitions, because we're trying to move strategically here in what we're attempting to do, which ultimately is bringing everybody together and making the world a better place than we found it, right? So today's discussion with Brandon, yes, like I said, was about race, specifically the N-word, its use, whether it should be used, by who, other situations in this country, and how we just deal with them interpersonally and between the quote-unquote races. Now, I want to start, before we get into the discussion or dialogue, I want to get into why I no longer use the N-word, right? Started maybe 10, 12 years ago, right? In my journey of learning, right? I got into a period where I was really into etymology, which is, for those who don't know, the study of words, the evolution of words, where words come from. And during that process, something made me look up the N-word. I was also on a tear in quote-unquote Black history or African history, and so naturally the two disciplines cross paths. But just to give you guys a brief, because I do talk about it a little bit in our discussion, I don't want to make this opening too long. There's a Latin word, or Latin-derived word, necro, right? And because Spanish is a Romance language, stems from Latin, that necro word, which means death, black, essentially nothing, translates into negro. I'm trying to roll that R. And from that, around the time of slavery, and even trading, right? This is hundreds of years ago. The Spanish traders would, and obviously this is super simplifying it, but the Spanish traders would interact with the more English, more Germanic traders, more anglicized traders. I'll say that, the Anglo traders, right? And everything, primarily, this is when they're dealing with, African slaves, right? You get one language or accent saying negro, and then you get the Anglo trying to repeat that. Just think about it. You get an old South accent or something like that trying to repeat negro over time. It's gonna kind of become a little sloppy, right? This is what language is, it evolves, right? So negro became like I said, I don't say the word, but over time, this is what happened. There isn't any kind of, I don't think there's a whole grand scheme to it, right? It's just the way language evolved. Unfortunately, we have a word that existed during the slave trade and prior that continued to just evolve. And fast forward past slavery, you have Jim Crow, you have segregation. Get to the late 60s, early 70s, you have blaxploitation films that made the word a part of culture again. And fast forward to today, obviously, it's ubiquitous. But that's just brief. Like I said, I talk about it again in the interview, but it it isn't a word that meant something else. I mean, I heard Kendrick Lamar talk about it on an album, To Pimp a Butterfly, where he says it comes from like Swahili, a Swahili word, negus, and which means some kind of royalty, and that somehow was flipped by the powers that be to make it, like, it just made no sense. But again, necro, all right, Spanish. Necro is Latin. The Spanish translation is negro, and just translations between different cultures and different languages. Negro turns into essentially what we know now, right? And I also, you'll notice in the interview that, or in the discussion, that I keep saying quote unquote black or quote unquote white. These are also terms that I don't like to just use without thinking. I mean, now it's like second nature for me, but black and white were concepts created to box up, right? In this case specifically, sometime after Bacon's Rebellion, these terms, these classifying terms, were used as a tool of control, right? To denote class, right? Because if you guys know your history, there's certain groups in this country that weren't included in the quote-unquote white classification before that now are, right? Like Italians, for instance, or Irish, right? So that tells you that it's not a natural thing. It's something that was made up. And feel the same way about black. So whenever I use them, primarily I'll say quote unquote. So you guys should just notice that for those who are wondering, who are gonna wonder when you see the video. But guys, I can't think of anything else to get to. Video we shot was beautiful. The weather was beautiful, but you will notice a bit of change in the weather. We had a thunderstorm come through, but we were able to withstand and continue shooting just to bring you guys this content. Like I said, we felt it very important, or I felt it very important for you guys to have a honest and truthful conversation between two men in regards to, like I said, our country, the N-word, race, and just hopefully making a better foot forward for this country. But hey, I'm not going to say any more. Let's just get to the interview, all right? I'll talk to you guys after the discussion.
Wendy's philosophy. I like that, man.
What is going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning back into Wendy's Philosophy. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Today, I have a very interesting episode. I have my friend Brandon here. Brandon, say what's up to the people.
Hey, guys. How you doing? My name's Brandon. Thank you for the invite, Wendy.
Man, I appreciate you actually saying yes, man.
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Today's going to be a very interesting day. It's going to be, we already talked about this. It may be a little rough, but we're excited to bring this to you guys because we think it's a very valuable conversation that does not happen enough in our country.
Very rarely, if all.
Right, on an honest level. So we're hoping to bring you guys an actual honest conversation on the N-word and race.
Yeah, and social issues tied in with it as
well.
Yeah.
Let's get it, guys. Hold on. It's a beautiful day out here in Central Florida.
It is.
But it's a little too sunny right now, in the grass. How about you say we move this to a little cozier place?
I'm cool with it.
Ready?
Yep.
Oh. All right, that wasn't that bad.
No.
But this is a way more comfortable area to be in right now.
Yeah.
Thank
comfortable pillows, comfortable chairs. I'm fine, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys for sticking with us through that transport. But like I said, guys, we're going to be talking about a serious topic, and that topic is race in our country and the N-word. Now, let's get right to it.
Fair enough.
Let me start off with this. And like I said, like I told you before, it's going to be tough questions. But again, I appreciate you being a good guy and coming by. I'll say that again. Now, what does the N-word mean to you?
I mean, it doesn't. As a light-skinned person, as a white person, it honestly doesn't mean much. And I guess what it means to me is I understand the historical context of it for people of black and your color. And I try, at this point in my life, how I've matured, I try not to use it because I understand the historical connotation behind it. I'm well versed on history and whatnot. It's probably my
bring us
favorite
into that.
subject. So, I mean, the historical connotation was it was a derogatory term to use towards people of your color, and historically. So, but nowadays it's a very common word in pop culture. Me and you are both huge hip hop fans. We talk about hip hop all the time.
Absolutely.
Now, with that being said, probably one of the most prominent words in hip hop is that word. So it's
Yeah.
become mainstream and common. So what you're seeing is a lot of other people thinking it's fine to say that, not the derogatory term, versus, you know, if you say something derogatory about another race, like the incident with the Heat player Myers Leonard lately, he called somebody online an anti-Semitic term. It's not even that common, but he used it, and he got...
word that should never be said.
Should never be said.
You get canceled. Your whole family gets canceled.
Yep, and he's done. But if you use that term, it's fine. So, and in our modern day political correct culture, there's many words that people say you can't say that I don't necessarily agree with because I'm not the most politically correct person. But this word I understand because of the historical connotation behind it, the N word. So that's why I'm trying not to say it anymore. You know, when it comes up in a hip hop song, I try to like skip it because I know a lot of these lyrics to it. You know, it's hard to. You know, Benny the Butcher literally says it in his catchphrase, and if you guys haven't heard of Benny the Butcher, we highly recommend you give him a listen.
Hip hop fan.
Yep. So, but I love all kinds of music. Music's one of those things that really cuts through the soul of humanity. You know, it cuts through the color differences and whatnot. Because I listen to all types of music.
Perspectives.
Yeah.
Skill.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
With that being said, and well put, might I add. But with that being said, what would you say? Because we already discussed this for those who haven't caught on. This is a word that I've said in my life numerous times.
Yep.
Like I said before, I don't say it anymore. And you also have said it in your life.
Yep.
So what you just said, I'm understanding that you stopped saying it the more you learned and grew as a man, as a human.
Yeah.
Right? And I will say that is noble. What I want to get to that I don't think is touched on in dialogue, that I've seen at least, is what drew you to using the word in the first place? Would you say it was social? Would you say it was, by social I mean wanting to fit in, trying to fit in, or just unwitting product of your environment, being that you didn't know the history of the word before? What would you say it was?
I would say a little bit of everything, but the main thing was just how common it is used, especially in the hip-hop community. And yeah, a little bit to blend in cool, because it was so commonly used in hip-hop, and because hip-hop is such a big genre nowadays, because it's so widely used, therefore it is cool, therefore social pressure will happen regardless of the fact. It's like a domino effect.
Right.
So because of this, because of that, it leads into that. So it's a little bit of everything you say. And, you know, you can skip it or try to be, you know, more mature is the best word to use there, by just trying to skip the word. And it's something I'm still working on, but it's something that I'm trying to improve on, and we've talked about this before. It's
Facts. We have. Well, a little bit from my experience.
Yeah, go ahead.
And again, guys, I already explained this to you in the opening monologue on why I don't say the word, but back in maybe middle school, high school, like you said, with hip-hop culture and society, it was a word that, as a quote-unquote black person, Haitian descent, African descent, we were taught how to react to the word.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, that's interesting.
It's yeah, because it's not natural, right? Like, we're taught how to react. It's a social construct. Like, tie your shoes this way, walk this way. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And from the neighborhoods I'm from, you know what I mean? But
fair enough.
This word, we're taught, like TV, older people around us. Oh, if somebody says it, you got to knock their teeth out. Somebody said you. I grew up thinking that was the right way to react to it.
Interesting.
Right? Like, again, it's not a natural state of being. It's just how we learn things.
Correct.
But now in my life, through my journey of learning, understanding, and growing as a man, and also in my history, in my knowledge of history, it's not something that I react to violently or negatively, but it is something that I know. I personally don't really like when anybody says it.
Yeah.
I think it should be a forbidden word, like the derogatory Jewish term, right?
Yeah.
I think it should be a forbidden word. I don't think it should be ubiquitous. I think that is as a result of some form of brainwashing. Right?
Yeah.
Because this culture, and I'm speaking to quote unquote black culture, right?
Yep.
And guys, I also explained in the monologue why I use quote unquote for white and black, right? These are things that are concepts that were created pre-colonial, post-colonial, whatever you want to say, but they were created for control. I see us all as humans, right?
Yeah.
I get the cultural significance
Yeah.
of white and black nowadays, but these are things that were actually created to divide us. So it's just a
They
process
still
of
do
mine.
divide us a lot.
Absolutely.
Yep,
But
very
it's
much
just a
so.
process of mine, of being a change that I want to see. So you know
Yeah.
what I mean,
And
more catches on, there's a change.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, like I said, I don't react negatively to it anymore. I just kind of keep a file.
Yeah.
The word shouldn't be said. It shouldn't be used, man. Like
Fair enough.
like you said before with the Myers-Leonard situation,
Yeah.
he essentially got canceled.
He basically did. Yeah.
And we don't know who canceled him.
Just everything. Yeah.
It just happened.
Just happened with the society that we live in.
Now, let me ask you this: you're a major Heat fan. Is what's his name? Harrison? Mickey Harrison?
Mickey Harrison, the owner. Yeah.
Is he of Jewish descent? Is he Jewish?
I'm not sure. I haven't done enough research on him.
I cannot remember. I don't know if he's Jewish or not.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, for our ignorance, but
yeah.
If that's the case, then it makes a lot of sense.
That could make sense of why that happened. We should look that up and put that in the maybe comment section. The answer
I'll
to
talk
that.
about it in the summary. Or
Okay.
whatever,
Yeah.
Guys, comment if you guys know the answer.
Yeah,
to that.
please do.
But the fact is, and there's another thing. I remember there was a song that Michael Jackson had back in the day. They Don't Really Care About Us. And in that song, the original version of that song, he actually used the word.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Now let me explain to you the power, because we talk about PC culture, right?
Yep.
Like it's a new thing. But back then, the ACLU spoke up, and that's the pretty much the anti-defamation organization for Jewish people. Right?
Correct. Yep.
They spoke up, and the powers that be, I'm not even going to use that term, they spoke up and got Michael Jackson to change the masters of that song.
Really?
So that you can't find that original version
Anywhere.
Like, that's power.
Yeah.
Like, they got Michael Jackson to remove a word from, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, circle back to quote-unquote black culture, right?
Yeah.
They have us saying nowadays, I'm sorry guys, you hear the golf balls in the back, but they have us saying nowadays that it's a term of endearment. You've heard this, right? You've never heard that? Like the
No.
N-word is a term of endearment?
No. But please specify more, though.
I guess because the experience of quote-unquote black in this country, it's a shared experience.
Oh, okay.
And it's one based on skin tone, a little bit culture, and I'll get into that, why I say that a little bit later, but mostly skin tone, right?
Okay.
And it's always been the most bizarre thing to me. Oh, you hear people saying, oh, we're taking the word back. Like, you know, it means something positive, now we're taking it back. No.
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
You've never heard that?
I'm just saying I've heard of it, but I don't think that's a very.
I don't agree with it at all.
No, I don't agree with it at all.
I'm just saying to you, this is how it's been kind of like.
And then that also
messed with in history.
And then that backs up the fact that a lot of hip hop users can use it nowadays, was what you just said, because they've quote unquote taken the word back. So that explains why. Okay.
It's funny though, because
circles back. Okay.
I don't know if it was somebody that looked like me who came up with that whole take the word back thing. You know what I mean? Like.
I don't know. I'm skeptical.
I'm surprised you never heard that, bro.
Well, now I have, man. So I'm always learning something new every day.
But let's get into why I said it was kind of cultural and not just based on skin tone, right?
Okay.
You talked about a situation growing up, because guys who can't see a little bit soul of flavor on this guy. He grew up in.
I grew up in Miami,
South Florida. Yeah.
Very diverse school district part of Miami. I remember looking at a study from 2009, and my high school was probably the most ethnically diverse public high school in Miami. In terms of, we had, if I can remember, 40% white kids, 30% Hispanic, 20% black, and 10% Asian, roughly. You know.
Okay.
So it was a
That's
very diverse
That's
group.
diverse.
And
speak to the incident you briefly told me about there.
Oh, back in elementary, yeah. So back in elementary school, from what I remember, I was just a kid, and I would hang around different groups of kids, different colors. I didn't really care. And supposedly, some of the white kids at my elementary school I was friends with, and they said, "Look, we kind of don't really want to hang around that kid anymore, Brandon, because he acts too ghetto. He thinks he's black." When in reality, I was just hanging around people. Yeah, I thought myself. I didn't really think in terms of color. I just thought what was cool and whatnot. I think it stemmed from an incident back when I got the honor roll in elementary school. I think this contributed to these kids' thoughts. I got the honor roll. One of my Hispanic friends, when I went on stage, because back then the popping the collar was was like the cool thing to do. So he was like, "Oh, Brandon got the honor roll. Pop your collar, pop your collar." Like, he's yelling that for me as I'm on stage, and I'm not gonna not do that and let the homie down.
Did you start doing a sea walk or something?
No, I just went like
don't
that.
Don't lie, dog.
Nah.
Okay.
I just went like that. I was happy I made the honor roll. He just called my name. My friend was hyping me up. Like, what am I not gonna do? And that I was just like, I was taken back from that. I guess ostracized from it, but then also it kind of affected me, because then I said, well, now I can't really be myself because some people don't like me. Became ostracized. And when you're young, you kind of take things a bit more personal. Like, if somebody told me that now, I would say, all right, dude, screw off. I know too many other people. But when you're 10 years old, you're a bit more emotional and stuff. And I mean, the fact that I remember it after all these years just shows that it had an impact.
Now, that sucks to happen, man. But
fair enough.
Would you say that you said you were ostracized, so would you say that kind of pushed you to hanging out with more of the minority population in the school?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't have no choice.
Now, were you doing that already, or where'd you get this? What you call it, like the popping your collar? Everybody's like looking to you. Like, where'd you get that from? Is that somebody in your family? Like, where'd you get that from? How did you become? What made you, bro?
I was just open to
was
different.
It hip hop?
A bit, possibly, because I've always kind of been a hip hop fan. I remember having the Eminem CD when I was really young, Lose Yourself, and liking all the other stuff. But I was just open to talking to different people. I didn't really want to get into this, tribalism that us humans get into, where we want to hang around only kids that look like us. And I saw a lot of that in that high school I went to, where the white kids would hang around the white kids, the black kids hang around the white kids,
I hate that,
the Hispanic kids would hang around some of them. Would be mixed in with both, depending on where they fit in most. And there was different. It was almost somewhat segregated in terms of where people would hang out in lunches, because you would have the black kids, they would hang out more in the cafeteria. The white kids would be more in the pavilion. Of course, there'd be some intermixing, but this was the majority of what would happen. Like, you could definitely see the differences.
There's actually an interesting. You just bring up the cafeteria. There's an interesting book called "Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together at Lunch?" I believe it is, or in the cafeteria. Not a bad book there, and it kind of goes into the social, psychological aspect of that, sociological. So that may be an interesting read for those of you out there. But that's a pretty common thing, honestly.
It's pretty
man.
common.
The human species, people
it's
tend
tribalism.
Tribalism.
It's tribalism.
Right?
It's a very tribalistic
similar.
thing, and you have to almost get into your higher conscious to break through the tribalism. And because I was.
Sorry about that, guys. For those that have noticed the beautiful landscape, yes, the weather has changed. This is Florida. We just had a sharknado, or I don't know if we would call it a sharknado. What is it, a gator cane? I don't know.
The weather,
something.
Yeah.
The weather
changes fast here.
The weather definitely changed, but we want to get back into that conversation. Now, you mentioned the cafeteria at your old school.
Yeah.
Do you think there was anything that the administration could have done, or was it one of those things where it's just like, it is what it is, let's just let it happen?
It really is. It is what it is. I mean, because there's not much you can do about it. It's not like the school specifically said black kids must sit in the cafeteria and white kids can sit in the pavilion. It was, you can sit wherever you want. It's just what ended up happening based off the social cliques, I guess you could say, where the cliques like to congregate. So with that being said, I think it goes back more so to childhood, being that some of those white kids in elementary school didn't want to hang out with me because they thought I was acting black.
Mm-hmm.
So being that that started off in elementary school, um, it just keeps on transpiring into middle school, high school, and even adulthood. You know,
Right.
it's still you would see it in colleges and whatnot, where
Mm-hmm.
people go and hang out, where that. So now we need to. I think the bigger question is, when does this racial segregation start in terms of people's ages, and why does it happen?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think I definitely think it's more so cultural. Like
Yeah.
people are attracted to what they're, I guess, similar to
Yeah.
or interested
Tribal.
in.
It's
It's
tribal
a bit of
tribalism.
it's definitely a bit of tribalism,
Yeah.
but tribalism I believe is established by proximity, right? By
Yeah.
what you're around. Like if I'm talking to you, I just met you, and
Yeah.
you're talking to me about an armoire, and I don't have any damn friend. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
can't relate to that.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that, but the situation in my school was these kids were in the same environment. They were going to the same public schools, but yet they still found ways to almost segregate. And that's not in all cases, there was still some mixing of the races, but for the most part, it was somewhat segregated in terms of where people would hang out, but yet they're in the same environment and in the same school. So we have to wonder, why does this happen? Is it media influences? Is it influences from the parents? Is it social influences? I think it's a combination of all of these right now that lead to this.
And when you say they went to the same schools, I mean that doesn't really mean much, right?
Yeah,
Schools have race riots, right?
not necessarily, but they're in the same classrooms. They're in the same environments typically. I mean,
They're in the same classroom.
yeah, it doesn't mean they're gonna sit next to each other.
Like
It's
like I said, I definitely think it's culture, man.
yeah,
I'm not gonna I don't know how much, because class you're only in there a few hours, right? You're
yeah.
around your family, you're
And then you
around,
go
you know what
back
I mean?
around your family around for more often than not.
I don't know, but I guess maybe there wasn't anything that school administration could do in
No,
that
there's
instance,
nothing you
right?
can do as a school administration at that
Just let
point.
it play out.
Just kind of gotta let it play out.
Hmm. But let's get into something else here. How let me ask you this. How did you feel the first time the historical slavery was brought up to you? How do you think how do you remember it making you feel?
I mean, can't, I can just imagine that it would make me feel terrible. I don't obviously remember the first time I learned about it, but I can tell you it made me feel horrible. I do remember the first time I remember hearing about how the Nazis, what they did to the Jews, and I wanted to vomit. I was very disgusted by it because, you just think, oh, the humanity, what can make somebody do this? And we have to think back to what made.
Hold on. Since
Yeah.
somebody's gonna, I'm not talking about the Holocaust. I'm talking about like slavery,
Yeah.
like,
No, I hear you.
because you get that a lot sometimes when somebody brings up slavery, it immediately kind of gets brushed and then Holocaust.
No.
I don't want you to do that.
Yeah. So let's bring it back to this. So, what can make somebody so? Obviously, I felt horrible seeing the Holocaust. I most likely felt horrible remembering about slaves, but I learned about slavery so long ago I can't remember the exact instance that I remembered about
Right.
it. Obviously, it's a horrible thing.
I will say that speaks to a truth that I want to just interject right quick. We do learn about slavery.
Yeah.
We learn maybe this much about slavery,
Yeah.
and we learn maybe this much about the Holocaust. That's
That
why
is
it's so
true.
readily available
That
in our
is
mind.
very true.
Anne Frank, you know what I mean?
Anne Frank, all
Yeah.
the books we had to read about it. You read more about Anne Frank than Frederick Douglass in the public high school systems. I will give you that.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Right.
Um,
Because that was just interesting what just happened here. I asked you that question, and it
yeah,
immediately,
I remember.
and then I had to I had to think myself. I'm like, damn, they don't really teach us
I
much.
think yeah.
We learned
Watched
about
the
this
History
much.
Channel in like 6th or 7th grade. That's how I remember Holocaust. But
Right.
I had already learned about slavery years prior to that. I can't remember exactly.
No, I'm speaking of my childhood too. We
Yeah.
learned maybe this much about
Yeah,
slavery.
it's not taught as much in public schools. So, and when you think about slavery and you think about, as well as the Holocaust, we're going to mainly talk about slavery here, is what can make somebody do that to another human? Like, what can compel someone to enslave another human? And that's a deep question as well. And, I think it's, I guess,
I think that's a philosophical question, man.
yeah.
That's a hell of a philosophical question.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it throughout history,
We've seen
right?
it throughout history, different
Um,
races enslaving or mistreating
Different
other
groups of
races.
people doing, I guess what we see now as heinous things.
Yeah,
Um,
the Chinese are treating the Uyghur Muslims like crap currently as
all
well.
right,
Not trying to
going back
grab
to
slavery,
the
but
going
still
back to the
happens.
Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of horrible things that have happened to different groups of people. But and I don't want to discount any of that.
Yeah.
But again, today, like we're trying to focus on, the N word,
Yeah.
quote unquote white, quote unquote black.
Yeah.
And yeah, because there's a lot going on in the world, and there's been a lot going on in the world, right? But I mean, you spoke. I think we briefly touched on the other day a friend of yours that passed. You want to elaborate on that?
That had passed away due to overdosing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did talk about that. I had a light skinned lower class friend of mine, somebody I knew died because he overdosed recently, and it was
Huh? And when you say light skin, you mean white?
white, yes. And you have to realize that he didn't have access to education. He didn't have access to a lot of stuff, high school dropout and whatnot. So with that being said, a lot of what happens in this world is kind of based on what class you're born into. I was just watching a documentary before I came over here about the rich kids getting into whatever school they want because their parents being able to drive them in. It's the same principle. It's kind of what class you're born into. Now, and race does play a factor. There is parts of white privileges, as you know, as we discussed. You know, if you're going to get treated better if you're light skinned by the police. If you're dark skinned, 9.9 times out of 10. So there is that necessary. We have to factor that into it. But it's a lot of class situations that I see a lot in here. The lower class people not having access to education and healthcare, which leaves them at the pits where the rich kind of stay rich because they have those connections and they have the movements to make.
That's God. I think I think that, and I'm sure you agree, white privilege is a thing.
Yeah.
And guys, when he keeps saying light and dark, light skin and dark skin, he doesn't mean white and black. He means, or he doesn't mean light skinned black person, light skinned dark person. He means white and black.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing because I keep having to catch it.
Does.
I keep having to catch that myself.
Yeah.
But we know white privilege exists, and in the case of his friend here, rest in peace.
Yeah. Grew up,
He was speaking to class,
yeah.
and
Classes.
yeah, to someone thinking about that situation, it does bring up, hey, I grew up, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I'm from Virginia. I don't know. I'm from wherever.
Yep.
As a quote unquote white person,
Yep.
and what makes my story any less important than this black person here? And what I will say is, your pain is understood, and not gonna minimize that at all. All I'm saying is, and I think everybody honestly knows this, people that look like myself always get it a bit worse than other people in this country, man. And you'd agree with that,
Yeah.
right? And
Fair statement.
yeah, I think that's just as a result of the system, the boxes we're put into,
Yeah.
those
The
boxes.
ramifications of slavery that still exist today.
Exactly, exactly. And unfortunately, that's the reality we live in now. I do believe that it will get better. You already know I'm an eternal optimist.
Yeah, he is.
But this is where we're at right now. Now, do you have any examples of a situation where you experienced that privilege, or maybe it's not something you even would notice?
Not necessarily something. I guess you can say yes, but at the same time, I've been judged wrongly by the police, thinking I was up to no good when I was doing nothing wrong. So there's been cases of yes and no.
Well, police is police. Like, I drive around and police are pulling over white people all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it a indictment against the police at all. We're just speaking to systematically, right? Like, because we can have anecdotes all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just systematically, like, you can't think of anything.
Top of my head, I mean, there's always that factor of, okay, maybe people would rather do business with me because I'm white and not black. Because
Okay.
there might be some racism involved there. It's hard to prove that, but this is something
Right.
that is a definite possibility.
I have a buddy of mine that is also in real estate,
Yeah.
and he dealt with that actually, where a gentleman that his team was actually selling to or doing business with shook everybody's hand, and all his coworkers or team members are quote unquote white,
Yep.
and this gentleman,
Black.
yeah, he's black. And the guy they were doing business with shook everybody's hand and purposefully skipped him.
Oh wow.
And he's just stuck sitting there like, and then nobody else says anything. None of his team members says anything. I mean, I'm
It's
like,
like a question of did they even notice?
yeah, right. I mean, he says he knows they noticed, but I mean, hey, maybe you didn't. Maybe you weren't thinking
It's
about
kind
it.
of
Maybe you
hard to
had
prove.
something else on your mind.
People can
Yeah,
be distracted by God knows what.
yeah. And then we get to that issue of proving it or not, man. That's what people that look like me have to do a lot in this country, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when people, it's almost like a racist person to throw a stone, hide their hand, and be like, "Hey, you're overreacting." I mean,
Yeah. There's a lot of subtle racism. It's messed up.
microaggressions.
Yep. Another, yeah, that happens. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot, man, and it's messed up. There needs to be more people that sit down and have conversations like that. I think
Like this.
like this, yeah, like this. And there's also the guy that was I think it was Daryl Davis. If you guys haven't looked him up, check.
He's
him out.
awesome.
He's awesome.
He's awesome.
He's literally short. Long story short, he's a black guy that goes around and has converted ex Ku Klux Klan members and become friends with them. And
That's exhausting. So I give it up to him, man. Because I think I talked to you before how I was put in certain situations. I mean, not on purpose, but it just so happened where I had to be like face to face with Confederate flags, and
yeah,
you know what I mean, be in the same room with people with Confederate flag tattoos, and
still wear the Confederate flags. I mean, if you take the I-4 and drive from Orlando coming into Tampa, you're gonna see a giant Confederate flag outside
right,
of Tampa.
right. But in my experience, when you talk about Daryl Davis,
Yep.
like I said, he's a saint because it became too heavy for me to bear, man. Just being around that all the time and experiencing it's like, I'd rather not.
Rough.
I'd rather not.
I want to touch on something too. Is
Please.
why do people still use the Confederate flag? I want to theorize this a little bit. Why is it still so popular? I think it's
Outside of ignorance?
outside of ignorance. It's the Southern pride. It's a bit of propaganda. There's old movies such as Gone with the Wind that promote the Southern cause, and they may show only one side of slavery where the slaves were happy. They never showed them whipping any slaves. There's a lot of propaganda.
Daughters of the Confederacy.
Daughters
For
of the
those who want to Google
Confederacy.
that, they had a big hand in blowing up the notion of or creating the notion of the antebellum beautiful South,
Yep.
the what was it, the dignified master, and
Yep,
the happy slave,
Yep, they did
the
same thing with Gone
mammy.
with the Wind.
Right. I've never seen that movie, but
It's entertaining, but there's that,
I'm good.
that factor to it.
Not
Fair enough.
something
If
I'm
you don't-
sure
if
I'd
you don't-
watch.
If you don't want to see it, that's
I'm
fine.
good. I'm good.
However, HBO Max did ban it from their streaming
Oh, wow.
services, and I thought it was, in
A
my
little
opinion,
excessive?
a little excessive because at the same time you can just take your position where hey, it's out
How
there.
bad is the movie?
But I don't want to do it. It's not. I haven't watched it all the way to the
Okay.
end, so I
Okay.
can't tell you. But it's not. It's an entertaining movie, but
But
at the same
you
time,
know it's racist.
in a way.
Okay,
it can
thank
be.
you, thank
So
you, thank you.
I'll say this though. I don't believe in banning literature. I think
Mhm.
if you want to read Hitler's Mein Kampf, you have every right to.
Mhm.
Nobody should force you to. But I don't like banning any sort of media. I think anything should be free and
So
available.
freedom of
Freedom of
speech,
information.
freedom of expression, freedom of
You don't have to
information.
like the movie. You don't have to watch it.
All right, I can't argue that. I can't argue that. I can't argue that at
yeah.
all, man.
That's just my 2 cents on it. So, next, just going somewhere with that is why do people still? And another point is whenever you're watching movies, always be on the lookout for propaganda because they're out. I'm just telling the audience this because I've watched Chinese movies be pro-Chinese and anti-West, like the British. Even American movies do this. So just tell the audience just
That's
always
true.
look out for
That's true.
propaganda because that's one of the best ways that people can influence
You
your
have-
mind.
you have to have a
without
keen eye
even
for that.
knowing it, and you have to have a sixth sense for it. I called it out once in a college class of mine. I had to raise my hand and tell the professor, "This is propaganda." And he was like, "He agreed."
You're that
Like,
guy in the
it's-
class.
It's like my sixth sense is propaganda. I'm like, "Whoa, dude!" Like,
Yeah, this is not cool. Right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go here. Since we're talking about the South, the Daughters of the Confederacy, et cetera, et cetera. Another hot button topic or issue that you kind of hear talked about now, here and there in certain circles, is reparations. Right? I want to get your opinion and how you feel on reparations. No pressure. You're speaking for the whole white race here. No, I'm just joking. But how do you feel about reparations, man? What do you think?
So here's my 2 cents on it. There's other you can give a man a fish or you can teach a man how to fish. And I feel like you giving reparations out is just simply giving a man a fish. Why don't we teach people how to make this money on their own so they don't need to constantly get checks? And the people, and not only that, the people that
Hold
are
on.
living
I'm
nowadays
sorry.
never.
When you say get a check,
I mean reparations, yeah.
okay.
I'm assuming when you say reparations, you mean a check,
I
like a
think
stimulus
yeah, I
check.
think that's what everybody means when they say reparations. Unfortunately, I think uh, a better way of divvying this out would be free education, free health care,
That's
no
fine.
taxes,
Yeah.
um, for a certain period of time. I mean, maybe in perpetuity, maybe
Yeah.
forever. I don't know.
Discounts on educations, more
I
guidance. Because not only that, one thing I've noticed is people in this country don't know how to spend money wisely. They blow it
this
on
is
a
a
lot of
debt-based
materialistic
society,
BS.
man.
Yeah.
It's a debt-based society.
It's a consumeristic basic society. So I don't so
So that doesn't mean that doesn't denote like skin tone, culture,
no,
or anything.
and
That's
no,
America.
Americans
Yeah,
don't know how to spend money wisely. Their people's credit scores suck. A lot
yeah,
of times, they spend money on stuff they don't need to impress people they don't necessarily like. You
right.
see a lot of that going on in society. So,
For sure, for sure,
and so
for sure. But again, we're in a debt-based society, so that makes
yeah,
it interesting. So reparations isn't something you necessarily disagree with. You just
it needs to be in the correct form, and I'm all
what
for
did you think about what I suggested?
I think that's something as well. I have my take on it, which is massive um, investments in some of these lower class communities. Some of which are some of the black neighborhoods that are predominantly black that suffer from not having food stores like Publix near them, from not having adequate housing. There's other stuff that you can do to massively and also help out those schools that are failing in those neighborhoods and producing high school dropouts and giving them the same type of money that you would give to a school in a more privileged neighborhood and making them more up to par.
Here's the just thinking about you speaking now about this. Something crosses my mind, right? Reinvestment into these communities that you admit have been forgotten, right?
Yeah, forgotten communities,
The
100%.
only issue with that is these communities have been forgotten for so long. Is it too late? Is the damage already done?
No, you
Like, you
can
know what I
fix
mean?
stuff.
Because nothing's gonna. It's not gonna be fixed overnight.
Yeah, it's not.
You know what I
This
mean?
is this would be the massive thing, and this is a problem in the political system nowadays. Is that very few things actually get done. Democrats and Republicans bicker over stuff, and real action and real change never happens. So this is sort of the real things that say I was emperor of the United States that I would institute. But
I think Democrats and
massive.
Republicans are one bird of prey with two wings, right?
Understandable.
One side is Democrats, one side is Republicans.
And
You never see anything major being done when either one is in power.
hmm
Oh, it brings me to another point, man. I had a buddy of mine the other day, a guy I really respect. Uh, he's doing really well for himself financially now. He's a quote unquote black guy,
Yep.
Haitian, awesome.
For the Zoes.
He's, yeah, but he told me that he didn't vote in this last election, Trump versus Biden, and I don't know, that really stuck out to me like a sore thumb because right now you have a certain idea that hey, I don't care what's going on in the political sphere, I'm gonna just make this money, and that's cool, right?
But some of the local things really matter a lot.
Right, right. Like you got to vote for dog catcher, you got to vote for your sheriff,
Yeah.
you got to vote. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that really makes a difference in your neighborhood, in your community. You got to vote for your House of Representative, and yeah, you can
Right.
skip the presidential question.
If you want.
I skipped it in 2016. I didn't think highly of
Right.
Clinton or Trump, to be very honest. So I
Right.
skipped that question. But I voted for everything else on there because it's important, and you
Right.
have to do your research too. I think it was Socrates who really said, going back to philosophical, that people really need to research and become more educated before
Absolutely.
they vote, so they're not fooled by the propaganda and the mainstream media, and actually vote with their interests instead of what somebody else is telling them that they should do.
Absolutely. And here's why
Red and blue.
here's where I was going with that. You just said red and blue. There was a part on the ballot where it was going to, if it passed, open up our voting system in Florida, right? Which right now is a closed system. We only have the option of Democrat, or Republican, red or blue. I guess blood or Crips, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
them.
to run as, yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
we
It's
had
the
the
same thing.
we had the
Probably.
option to open it up, and this thing only fell by a few percentage points. And I'm like, damn, if
People
we
aren't
had
voting.
if we had all these people that say I'm gonna worry about my finances and not voting, if we had all those people actually vote their interest, you know what I mean, we would have had a better shot in Florida, man.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh well, it didn't happen. People
It,
didn't
it
get out and
happened.
vote, and people need
Right.
to. They send sample ballots out in the mail a month or two before the election. Do your research beforehand, or at least part of it. Do as much as you can.
Make it easy for yourselves, guys. When I get a ballot in the mail, I try to get it months in advance, or
Yeah.
several weeks in advance, I should say.
Do your
I
research.
do my research. I fill it out. I take that in with me and do
Research
the
every
ballot
single
there.
one of those people.
Easy,
Yeah.
easy. Please
And you'll
take your
see.
time with it.
You'll see whose interests there are. You'll see that. And, mine is I vote for Democrats or Republicans. I go more so based off the character of the person than their political party.
I go off their not just the character. Character is big.
Policies as well.
Policies is major, in their history, man. Their voting history. Like are they somebody who stands up for what they believe in?
Or
Are they
just
somebody?
going with the flow.
Exactly. Now, I wanna touch on another thing here.
Yeah.
Right now, with the Biden administration, they've been having certain buzzwords and new keywords that they're using. Right? It used to be equality, right?
Yeah.
We've heard that before, but the new word is equity. I know you've heard equity before, and you being you being in your industry.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the word equity. I'm just wondering why would they bring it into politics?
Okay. So the idea here is because you have equality, right? Saying
Yeah.
everybody gets the same thing. But equity deals with, you just talked about those communities that are forgotten,
No.
right? If you give somebody, if we're talking about equality, and you give somebody in, say, a nice middle class neighborhood, the same as you're giving somebody in one of those forgotten neighborhoods, where's the real equality? There isn't any. Like, yeah, it's equal because you're giving them the same thing.
Yeah.
But if I'm way down here to begin with, and you give us the same, that I'm still way down here.
Yeah.
Equity is figuring out a way to even that out or balance the playing field a bit. Because, like I said, there's no starting these communities over. They are already forgotten.
They already are forgotten.
There's not going to be a cure-all. Like, there's not going to be a peanut butter shot or anything like that that's going to fix these communities overnight. This is going to take a few generations, right, to get these communities to where we deem them successful.
Generations, yeah, and it's not easy. It's no easy task, and we sit here and we theorize about it, but it's just not. I wish there was a better way. But a lot of these politicians, going back to what you said about Biden using these terms, there's a lot of talk and no action. We can go dive deeper into that. It's probably a whole other discussion.
I'm gonna give him a little more time.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna give his cabinet a little. I like some of the people in his cabinet.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna give him a little more chance.
If you want to give them some more time, but historically, though, what we've seen is a lot of talk and no action.
Of course, yeah, for sure.
And they claim that to get your vote. When they actually get in power, they can. Yeah. So you'll see that, and it's
Every so often we'll see a civil rights bill or a voting rights bill, but it's been a while since I've seen something of that magnitude in this country. But again, I'm an eternal optimist. Now, let me ask you this: when it comes to having friends or relatives that you understand to be bigoted or racist or whatever, being around them when they espouse these ideas or say these things, how does it make you feel? And have you ever actually had to step up and call somebody out for it?
Yeah, I mean, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable, and yeah, you can say I don't like the way you think. I think that's BS. But people that say this are typically older, and older people are set in their ways. They're not just going to listen to you and want to change. At least the older people that I know are really set in their ways, and it's hard for them to change just by you saying I disagree with you. It's not true.
It takes a special person to
It
change.
takes a special person to change,
And it takes a special person to stand up to them.
Yeah. So it makes it's not a very comfortable feeling when people say that.
Okay, so.
And maybe even when I heard stuff back then, I was maybe too young to stand up because when you're 15 or 16, you're like, oh, that's wrong, but you don't have the courage to stand up to that because you're a teenager.
Reminds me of a video I saw on YouTube of this young teenager. She might have been 15 or 16, standing up to her parents, who were just repeating like racist stereotypes that they heard on Fox News. Very courageous. They were saying stuff like, "Oh, why do the black people keep killing themselves? And it's black on black crime." And then she starts to say a correct fact, like, "Hey, it's proximity based. Nobody says white on white crime." And they're giving the parents are giving false percentages, and she's coming back. She's retorting with the correct percentages or whatnot. And it's just, to me, that makes me feel good about being optimistic. You know what I mean? Because you have the younger generation speaking out against the older, more ignorant generation. So for me, it makes me see racism and these bigoted ways. It makes me see it as like a can of Coke or a glass of Coca-Cola, right, with ice cubes in them.
Yeah.
And every generation is like one of those ice cubes diluting the Coca-Cola a little more, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's a very interesting point. So I'm trying to think, there's so much. Yeah. So going back to what I was gonna say is, have you ever had to deal with that and confront somebody? Because I know you mentioned you've had stories where you were playing darts with someone and they were playing Confederate flags on the darts.
Well, I actually was playing by myself, right? I walked into a situation where a friend of or a friend of my wife's had a family friend, I guess. They had another friend that was having a pool party, and that friend's family was I guess right now you can call them very big Trump supporters.
Yeah.
I don't know them personally, but having Confederate flag darts, you're either ignorant or racist.
Yeah, one of the two.
So they fall into one of those categories.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I think
it is what it is.
They probably watched Gone with the Wind and thought the Southern cause was
Thought it was great.
Thought it was a great cause.
But bro, I just got up to play darts because it was one of those situations where I'm the only person that looks like myself there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the most inviting at the time, at least, right?
Yeah,
so,
you were just kind of
right, lingering.
You're just, that's one of those things too. That I've been at parties before. I don't know anybody. It happened to me in California once when I was visiting my sister because she knows all these people out there at this party. And I'm there by myself visiting, and then you're kind of trying to make small talk with people when they're feeling your vibe. But the vibe's a bit different on the West Coast than here in the South, so I'm
so it's a similar situation.
I've been there, but not in the racist form.
So I get up and I notice the dartboard, and I love shooting darts.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
I go up to where the darts are. They're in this little box, right?
Yeah.
So I lift up the box, and lo and behold, there's darts, but they're Confederate flag darts. And me at the time, I was trying to be like Daryl Davis. You know, just I could take whatever. I'm, smarter, stronger, whatever. So pick up the darts. I don't sweat. I literally just start shooting the darts, man.
And did people notice that you were shooting
it?
Of
course.
Yeah. And did it make people feel uncomfortable there?
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. I spoke to my wife about it. She noticed, and she was just aghast. But hey, what are you gonna do, right? Yeah. I mean, I could have just, if I would have, again, going back to Daryl Davis, if I would have just said, yo, fuck this, I'm out, just slammed it.
It would have just gone more into their stereotypes.
Exactly.
It's not worth playing with that. You played it off cool, and it's an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, I mean, we never went back there, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
I wouldn't either.
That's something that's one thing I can remember. Oh, there was another time in high school. I'm from Fort Lauderdale. My parent at the time moved me my senior year, right? Me and my siblings, unfortunately, moved us to another school outside of Tampa. And that's where I graduated. My senior year, can you imagine that? But
I was lucky. I stayed in my school district my senior year, even though we moved.
Right.
Like we were still somewhat close enough that I just didn't
Right.
School.
So look, the high school I graduated from was just outside of Tampa. There was a farm on school premises.
Mm-hmm.
It was a school that had race riots before, like legit. That was the first time I had ever been called the N-word to my face, and it almost started another race riot.
Yeah, I would blame you.
Yeah, that was that's the situation that I could think of. But nothing else really. I mean, outside of every time I really hear the N-word, it sticks out, like it stands out to me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can't think of. I try not to put myself in those situations too much, right?
Fair enough.
But I don't know. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
It's understandable.
All right. Trying to think what else we didn't bring up or haven't brought up.
Is there anything else? We brought up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and it's awesome because I can cut and do whatever. But all right. Let's see. What I'm trying to think. What else we brought up yesterday that. All right, so let's think with this. What is something you would want to see, or that you can think you can start doing yourself? Okay, scratch that. Okay, I'm so glad you agreed to have this sit down with me and do this for the YouTube channel, Wendy's Philosophy, because I know you know me. We both want to leave this world a lot better than we found it, right?
Yeah, I try to, man. I pick up trash on the floor when I'm running. I literally picked up a Red Bull can on my jog earlier this morning.
Hey, whatever you can do to make the world a better place, man. But
People that litter.
yeah, it is what it is, man. But I'm hoping these conversations can become
More
normal, right?
routine, and we have to obviously you're gonna put on YouTube. We wrote a couple other ways and just keep coming back to stuff like this because people like me and you that look different need to have more discussions. But at the end of the day, we're just one blood, bro.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's fear? What stops people from having these
Fear, but
conversations?
I don't think. I think it's a bit of fear. A and B. Very few people. I don't. As a white person, I don't see a lot of my other white friends have deep friendships with black people like I do. Because I'm the type of person that's had, I'd say, 30, 40, 50% of my friends have been black. But, I didn't care. I saw through the race, and I can't say that about some of my other white friends. So they don't really get to know a black person like I know you and some of my other black friends, which I have. Someone we met through a mutual black friend of mine.
So, okay. Now, those white friends that you say you have, that, and then it's tough to even talk like that because what, would I have to go out of my way to meet a black person? I mean, it might help the world.
Yeah.
It might help the world heal.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying you have to, but it might help the world heal because I know people who, I think I'm the only black person in their circle.
Yeah.
And that's something I think about, like, damn, am I the only black person? Why am I
Am
the only
black
black?
person
I never see any other black people around. It's like, come
Yeah,
on,
it's just really get
guys.
to know other people, and I'm the type of dude that I really want to go around the world and get to know a bunch of different guys because I'm fascinated by people.
Right. But, and again, with you, I've been knowing you a few years now. You're more of a outgoing person. You're more
Yeah.
open, honest.
Yeah.
I can't say that for other people. I see other people, and it's kind of like
Other
they
people
shut
wanna
down
stick to
around
their-
different people.
Yeah,
and
and
it's,
they want to stick to their cliques. And I do that a bit too. It depends on the vibe and what I'm feeling.
bro, I've seen
but
you. You'll talk to a stranger, dog. You'll
Yeah,
talk to
I-
a random person, bro.
I
It's
will.
different. It's just different.
There's difference. Yeah, I will. So there's that aspect to it, but it just some people just never even some of these white kids go to schools that are with a bunch of other white kids and they just don't get to know another black person, and then they listen to the Fox News stereotypes and start believing it.
Right.
And they're not necessarily bad people, but it goes back to what Charles Barkley said. There's a lot of black and white people are generally good people, but they're caught in they're caught up in the differences and the stereotypes, caught up by media and the political system, and it's and there are things that cut through the color barrier. I think comedy is one of them. Music's another one where that kind of cut through the racial stuff. Like if a white person goes there and all they know is white people, they go watch a black comic like Dave Chappelle, they'll probably get a good laugh out of it. And
These shouldn't be the things. I don't think these should be the things responsible for fixing, like,
They shouldn't be.
You know
But
what I
it is
mean?
what it is.
like slavery, Jim Crow, all that existed before. Like, I shouldn't have to go to a comedy show for racism to be fixed, or racism to become null and void. You know what I
There
mean?
needs to be more conversations like this.
I think like this, exactly. If we could sit down and have actual honest conversations.
Honest conversations, it helps. But this is just we're only doing this on a micro level. The bigger question
Absolutely.
is how do you do this on a macro level.
Right.
Daryl Davis is one person, but there needs to be more like that. And musicians and comics have helped a bit, but it shouldn't have to be that. But it is what it is because I can see.
But you're not asking. Daryl Davis is that's an anomaly. You're
Yeah.
not asking every quote unquote black person to reach out to somebody that they know is racist. That's ridiculous.
No, that's ridiculous. It's an anomaly. So
It shouldn't be up on that black person.
It's a deep question. It's a deep question, and I don't. To be
Wendy's
right now,
philosophy.
I don't know the answer right now. I don't.
That is a tough one.
It's a tough one.
But it'll take people doing a lot of soul searching,
Yeah.
especially quote unquote white people. Start doing some soul searching. I don't know. Reach out to people. I mean, I don't know. Look, that's a tough one. That's gonna, like I said, that requires some soul searching for you out there, guys, because this isn't something we're gonna be able to fix overnight.
Yeah.
All right. I just know what I do know, and I'm sure you know as well. The start is having honest conversation.
Conversations where you break stuff down, like we're doing right now.
Why do you feel like this? Why do I make you uncomfortable? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, honest and peaceful and non-threatening and just relaxed and calm and sitting out on a nice patio like this.
right, right. Let's see. So we have. I can't think of anything else that I want to talk about.
Yeah, either. Touch on a lot of stuff. We can have another talk about politics another time. There's other stuff we can break down.
Let's see here. Have you ever heard of Have you ever heard of Bacon's Rebellion?
Yes, I have. You may need to refresh me on some of the details of it, but I have read about it in the past. It's just hard for me to remember all the
Yeah,
details.
that was just a rebellion of the worker or slave class, and this is before chattel slavery. This is during
Indentured
indentured
service.
servitude,
Okay.
and the indentured servants went against the actual master class and almost won that rebellion,
Yeah.
but they lost, and the system prevailed, and that's when they started to figure out the whole white and black,
Yeah.
you know, system.
I need to reread that because I did read about it in a book once.
Yeah.
And it's hard to retain all the information.
There's a lot of whitewashing to cut through,
Yeah.
but if you put two and two together,
You can kind of see it.
bingo,
I
it
have-
makes sense.
You're sparking up things in my memory right
Right,
now.
right,
and I
right.
can't. It's been a minute since I've studied it, so.
All right. All right, man. I can't think of anything else, man.
No, I think we touched on a lot of stuff.
Worst case, we could just make this part one and do something later on,
Yeah,
man.
no problem. I'm happy to come back here. So I guess thank you for the opportunity.
Mm.
If you guys want to reach out to me, my Instagram is Brandon's World 821. Other than that, thank you for the opportunity.
Good dude, good dude. Oh, before you go, I don't want to forget this. Where do you think the Derek Chauvin trial is going?
Which trial?
Derek Chauvin, that's the police officer that killed George Floyd.
Oh, okay. I hope he gets convicted. I really, really do. But history has told us that it's very hard to convict a cop when they kill a black man. Everybody else has gotten off. So I hope they convict him. I think he's guilty.
To be fair, not everybody, but usually, right? Chauvin's trial is a bit different because the chief of police actually spoke out against him. Like you
Wow.
actually have like
Okay,
the
so
blue line is like no
there's-
more.
There's a lot of social pressure on this one, so I think he's going to get convicted, and I hope he does.
I
And
hope he
if
does
not,
too.
I don't mind if there's riots afterwards.
I don't-
There seems to be riots.
Honestly, I don't even like watching the trial because I don't feel like they're talking to me because people like me, we saw the George Floyd murder tape. We saw what that animal Derek Chauvin did, and I don't need a court to tell me or a jury to tell me that he meant to kill that man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. There's no
No,
like it was an accident. I don't need that.
Yeah, no. Yeah. when you have your-
They seem to be talking to middle America. Like that's what they seem
Yeah.
to be doing. Like
yeah,
I don't need this right now,
yeah,
man.
it's not worth the drama. So,
But hey,
that's it.
we'll see. Hopefully he does
We'll
get
see. Hopefully he
convicted,
gets
man.
convicted, man. They need to set a precedent with that so
Right.
people can treat other people better.
Right.
Especially white cops treating black people unfairly. It needs to happen.
Well, just I don't need like. There's something that happens with cops. 'Cause, I mean, I have friends that are police officers, right? Great people, but they happen to be in a system, just the system of policing, right? Obviously, there's racists in any job, and there's idiots in any job, but the system of policing has systematically put these people in positions where they're either radicalized or just burnt out. Like, imagine being on a shift and you're continuously running into criminals. You're continuously running into
People
criminals,
get burnt out and they're not properly trained. Either.
and you're not getting any mental
survive.
evaluations.
Yeah, no
right?
mental evaluations for police.
Right.
They're not, they're not being trained on how to de-escalate situations either. That needs to be another thing of training.
Well, a lot of them are skipping that training. Like the trainings are like just with any job. Like you skip through. Somebody gives you answers. It's a job. It's a job.
You're just gonna skip.
Right.
I'm sure you could BS your way through police training.
Not to mention that the Irish origins, the slave catcher origins of policing in this country, it started off with with having a target on quote unquote black bodies.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It started off. Those who don't know that history, look it up. Slave catchers, Irish slave catchers, and policing. Right? Every police funeral has bagpipes. Right? Like that's a little tidbit there. But man, I can't think of anything else, bro.
I think we touched on a lot of stuff. I think, police officers would be better off if they took some philosophy classes as well to open up their mind. I think a lot of people would.
Shit, you reminded me of something, man. That's why I'm glad these conversations can flow. I had an idea a few months back, right? You just brought up philosophy class. I think there needs to be some kind of programs brought on where they're getting students like, not liberal arts students, but students who are studying things like philosophy or sociology.
Yep,
and there needs to be a program where these students are getting their police academy paid for.
Yeah.
And
That's not a
police
bad
need to get
idea.
paid more.
Police need to get paid more. Teachers need to get paid
Oh,
more.
absolutely.
I think we need a financial education class as well to teach people about the credit system, how to invest in stocks, how to build wealth, and that needs to happen at a high school level because not everybody gets the privilege to go to college. There's many things that need to happen.
And that's a way of thinking that I think needs to start at the home. You know what I mean? Honestly.
To be taught at the home, but the problem is the parents don't even know because they weren't taught that.
Very true. Very true. And that can we can get in the rabbit hole on parenting and all that, but
Yeah, that's probably another discussion for another time.
But hey, man,
It's a deep one.
the weather's crazy. I think the universe is trying to tell us something, bro. I appreciate you.
No problem. I appreciate you
All
coming out. For everybody there, stay peaceful. Watch out for the propaganda as well. That's
Please
my
do,
message.
man.
Please develop a sixth sense of propaganda.
Right.
Because it alters the way you think.
Thank you for coming over, bro.
You'll grasp the concept. Anyways, guys, take care and don't forget about the Zoes.
Hey. All right, so look, guys, that was a very fun and informative video that I was able to do with Brandon. I appreciate those who have watched all the way to the end. I think we both not only learned a bit about each other, but also the mindset of obviously a percentage or a sect of our population, because this can't really speak to everybody, because he is just one man and I am just one man. But please just keep the conversation going. Comment, subscribe, review, all of that. I know all those things mean the same thing, but please, we have to get the conversation going, guys, because that's the only way we're going to be able to change something, is if we address it and face it head on. Because like I said before, we tend to in this country kind of just smooth things over, neglect to talk about it, maybe because of the severity or the complexity of the topic. But I think Brandon, I think he was honest, and that's what I do appreciate about him. He's always been, from me knowing him at least, he's been a straight shooter, and that's why when I came up with the idea, the concept of doing an interview or to have a dialogue like this, I thought he'd be the perfect person for that. So again, I thank you, Brandon, and let me see, trying to think of something else I wanted to touch. Okay, so either way, if you guys have any questions, anything you want me to touch on or elaborate on, just leave it in the comment section. Leave it in the comment section. Share this video. Yeah, guys. Thank you again for staying put and watching the whole video. And like I said, I hope you can recreate these conversations within your circle, your friend group, co-workers, whatever the case is. I know it's a little tough to have that, have a conversation like this at work, but I'd say we just need more conversations, man. Honest conversations. So again, thank you so much for watching. Again, the petitions are change.org/We Are All Haitians, and the second one is change.org/Haiti Day USA. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for staying with Wendy's philosophy. We're looking to grow from here, and I'm very excited about a lot of the things a lot of the discussions we'll be having from here on out. So salute. Enjoy your days, your weeks, your months. I'm hoping somebody can see this 10 years from now. Number love, guys. Peace, and remember, we are atoms crashing and universes colliding. Please make sure to leave your mark. Peace.